Andrew, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. It's late here, but I'm trying to keep the spirit up.
Oh, I know. What is it? 12 in the morning?
It's 12, but it's still decent. Usually I go to sleep at 12, so I'm good.
Oh my gosh. Well, guys, Andrew Williams is awesome. He's like the melting pot of all cultures. I think, you and Michelle are very similar. She came on a couple hour 2 hours ago. But Andrew, you're British, also Romanian. I mean, you've lived everywhere and you've been to how many countries? I think I have it written down here. You've been to 50
I think,
countries.
yeah, 45, I think at least. Yeah. Yeah, and I lived in four like a long time. So
Oh my
so
God.
yeah.
Yeah, you're like an OG digital nomad. So
Kind of, yeah.
to give you a proper introduction, so everybody can meet you. And everybody say hi to Andrew in the chat if you can, so we can welcome him. He's the founder of Remote Tribe. We're going to be chatting about becoming a remote worker, as well as other resources that are going to help you guys like with your digital nomad life or your move abroad. So basically, he's just a big supporter of remote work and he has a really big heart. You should check out his website. He's building it himself and it's amazing. Like the UI UX, me being a web designer, I'm like, this is so cool. I love the look, the energy you're putting into it, the impact that it's having on people. And he's been embracing this lifestyle since 2016, so only a year before Dina. And yeah, 50 countries. And now you're basically on a mission to help people leave the 9 to 5, say goodbye, and then be true global citizens. So thank you for being
Yeah.
with us. And tell me, did I butcher your intro or was it okay?
No, not really. Thanks a lot. Like really helpful. So we also have a newsletter and we have a community platform where people can talk about issues on digital nomad and travel and stuff like that. So we're happy to help there. But yeah, definitely. I've been doing this for a while. I've been slow nomading for the last 3 years, including COVID, because you couldn't travel so much. So I've been to Mexico and Vietnam and Argentina before COVID hit there. So I was trying to run away from the police, basically,
Yeah.
and just live a free life. So I was living there a few months, and then I started slow madding in the last year because I want to slow down a bit and also kind of immerse in the culture and work more. Because to be honest, guys, like if you want to do work and travel, you do have to slow mad a bit because you have to be disciplined. So
What is
so
this
we
word?
if
Can
you
I inter can I interject really
sure.
quick? What is this word that you're using? Slow mad. What is
Yeah, so it's basically staying more in a location than your usual digital nomad would do. So I usually stay between like a month and a half and 2 months in every location because
okay?
it enables you to find the best places to eat, the best places to work from. You get better accommodation prices, you get better co-working prices. So it's really a good deal, and you work more and you meet more people. So it's actually better to travel less and enjoy more,
Love it.
and it enables you to work more. So I've done it before. I was changing countries every 2 weeks, and it's not going to work unless you have a solid business. So if you've set up your own business and it's working well, you've got assistants, you've got people employed,
Yeah.
it will work for you to check your email a few times a day or answer a few emails or work 2 hours a day. But otherwise, you need to spend a few hours a day, like solid deep work hours to build that business when traveling. So that's why I think a month and a half, 2 months is perfect in every location because it's going to
Yeah.
enable you to do that.
So just so Andrew knows, how many of you, if because he's just coming on like a little bit ago, how many of you are currently working towards starting a business? You're looking for remote work because we're going to be chatting a little bit about that. And then any other questions about, cost of living in different countries, because that's something that Andrew knows a lot about, and just like the lifestyle in general of living in different countries. So I guess my first question, Andrew, and tell us like, what is it like? Let's start it off fun. What's it like in Vietnam right now and working from there?
It's crazy. So honestly, like Ho Chi Minh is not the greatest city, but I'm here to meet some people and for the food, to be frank. And actually, I'm going to Hanoi and Da Nang, and I'm going to be living there for a longer time. But Ho Chi Minh is very, very hectic. It's good to work. You've got some nice co-working spaces and some nice cafes. You can get a coffee and work for like 3 hours. No one is going to say anything. The coffee is absolutely amazing. food is amazing. It's just not the best city to live in. So just come here for a few days, go to the local markets and then go to the beach in Da Nang or Hanoi, which is like a very, very historical city, and it's a great city. But Ho Chi Minh is very hectic. You've got scooters even on the sidewalks. It's absolutely crazy. So I'm basically just working all the time and then just going out to eat and doing some tours when I'm not working. But I'm going to be living in a few days for Da Nang for a few weeks.
So how do you maintain this lifestyle? Like, I'm so curious because my lifestyle was a little bit different. I was in Spain for 5 years and I kind of like to have a base. And then on the weekends or like long trip, holidays, I would go around Europe and do the travels, how does one maintain this type of lifestyle that you're living?
Yeah. So for example, right now I'm Asia touring. So I'm going to be in Asia for the next 6 or 8 months more. So I started in January. So I'm going to spend almost a full year in Asia. So I'm planning a lot. So before I left in January, I already had my tickets bought for the countries I wanted to visit because you get a better price. So I usually buy the tickets like 3-4 months in advance. And it's the same with the accommodation. So I know, for example, I'm going to be in Malaysia in about 2 months for a month. And then I already have my tickets for the Philippines. So I all the time plan like 3 months ahead for the best prices for the flights and also the accommodation. And then you can also cancel some of the accommodation if you don't like it and so on and so forth. So planning it's one of the things I wanted to mention. Planning and discipline are key. They're definitely key. If you want to work and travel, you do have to work. You still have to work. So work is on the first plan, is in the first plan. And planning obviously for your work and for your travels, so you can do the both together.
Okay, awesome. And tell us about, like, a lot of people wanted to know when I asked, cost of living, accommodation. Can you kind of tap into how do you find accommodation? What's the cost of living in these types of places? Because I think there were some misconceptions earlier about, money mindset, like how much am I going to need living in Thailand or Vietnam? Or I know you're from Europe, so the prices there. Can you kind of give us some comparisons of like what that looks like? And then later I want to jump into the remote work stuff, but just to kind of get these questions people have first.
Sure. So honestly, like Asia is still pretty cheap, guys, compared to Europe, but especially to the US, it's really cheap. So I lived in Thailand. I just come from Thailand. I lived there for 3 months. So I was Bangkok, Chiang Mai, and Koh Phangan, the island. So you can live in Bangkok. You can have a nice condo for about $350 US dollars with a swimming pool at the top and a gym. That's all included. And then the other expenses, you've got the metro and the street food and the restaurants. It's up to you. Like if you want to go cheap, that's what I love about Thailand. If you want to go cheap, you can eat street food, which is very good. You've got like middle level restaurants, which are still pretty cheap. Like, I don't know, like maybe like $4 or $5 for a meal. And then you've got the high-end Japanese restaurants and the steakhouses, which are absolutely amazing. They're just still like half the price from the US. So I think about maybe like $1,500 US dollars in Bangkok will definitely cover you the flat and also a decent lifestyle, like going out once in a while, taking the metro every day, taking the taxi, which is pretty cheap. So I would say 1,500 to cover the basics, and then everything upwards is like just a nice living bonus. It's and also honestly, guys, like the islands in Thailand are absolutely amazing. It's like super safe. The food is fresh. Everything is freshly prepared and cooked. It's like having a cook. You just go outside and people will just cook the food for you. You've got fresh juices every day. If you want to, they've got the fruits on the stalls. The quality of life is actually very good in Thailand. It's still my favorite country in the world. It's pretty amazing.
Really? Oh, that's your favorite out of the 45, 50 that you've been to?
I would say so. Overall, the package, like what you get for the money and also the people, they're very kind, it's probably the most peaceful country I've been to. Like people are extremely non-aggressive and very friendly.
I've heard this. And Scott just was there. He's in our group. He's actually, I work with him. He's my financial advisor. But he was just on vacation with his girlfriend. And he said that he got like a $90 5-star hotel in Bangkok, which is like unheard of.
But still, again, the prices are still very, very good in Asia, definitely.
How much would you say that you spent? Like, what's a budget, like a realistic budget that somebody would need for like Thailand, for example, since we're
Yeah, so
Thailand?
I was spending, so my budget was about $25 a day. That's
Okay.
including like food and transport with the metro and the scooter taxi sometimes. Again, everything above that or anything above that is just a nice living bonus. So, 30, 35, $40. And then you just do the math, just multiply that with the numbers of days you're living in Bangkok, for example, and that's what you get. That's without the accommodation, right? So that's just the living expenses.
Does that include, wait, you said, does that include accommodation, the 25?
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. So that's just like foods, some fun, some
Activities.
drinks. Yeah,
Okay, got it.
activities maybe. Yeah. So just the
And
basics. And then, yeah, sorry, go
and
ahead.
and Forrester is asking about, how do you find the Airbnbs and
Yeah, so it's a tricky one. So the Airbnb is not officially legal in Thailand, but the landlords still do it, and somehow they collude with the building owners. I don't know, it's very weird. So you can still do Airbnb, but just be wary about that. And I think you have to stay there you have to live at least 3 weeks or something like that. That's the rule. It's a very weird rule they have in Thailand. Otherwise, I would advise to go to Fazwaz, FAZWAZ.com. or .th is the Thailand Airbnb, like where landlords put their flats on, and there's some amazing flats.
can you put
Sure.
that in the chat?
Sure. The only problem with Fazwaz is that they only want to rent from 6 months onwards. But
Okay.
I think you can negotiate. I think you can negotiate for like a month or two, and they're going to give you a higher price. But the flats, they're absolutely stunning.
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much for sharing all this info. I love it. What about like for 2 to 3 months? Like, how do you do the accommodation? That's what Anne asked 2 questions, so I kind of got confused between both of them. But how do you find your 2 to 3 month accommodation when you're wanting to?
So there's some other agency. You mean in Thailand or just in general?
Well, yeah, Thailand and maybe other countries too.
Yes, so guys, just keep in mind, Agoda is the equivalent of Booking in Asia, and they've got far better prices than Booking.com. So it's Agoda.com. They've got a great app. I mean, the prices are absolutely ridiculous. Like, I don't know, there's some hostels you can buy in Vietnam for $2 a night, like in a dorm. I don't live in dorms anymore, luckily, but like it's almost free. It's ridiculous. It's just absolutely ridiculous. But they've got like nice villas, they've got nice flats, they've got homestays, they've got great hotels. Then they always have discounts. So Agoda is by far the best platform to travel within Asia.
Wow.
You can also book flights and I think even co-working spaces.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing about that. And yeah, you guys save your questions for the last 5 minutes of this, and we can dive back into any of these, like, cost of living, accommodation, or logistical questions you guys have. But I definitely want us to talk about Remote Tribe and what you're creating for people, and how are you getting people, talk about Remote Tribe a little bit and the community, and how you're getting people to work online, and what kind of opportunities are you providing for people that have no idea what they want to do. They know they want to work remote and live this lifestyle.
Yeah, sure. So I want to talk a bit about the history of Remote Tribe. So I was already working remotely when I started Remote Tribe in 2019, because I saw COVID is changing things, and I kind of saw that people work more and more remotely. It kind of made sense that it will stay like that after the pandemic. So I kind of saw the niche, and I started writing about the topics, like how to work remotely, how to have like a home office setup, where to travel, cheaper places to go. So that kind of transformed into a proper magazine, the one I'm doing now, remotetribe.life.
Okay.
And we're teaching people, we have guides about locations, about prices in Thailand, for example. I just wrote an article about that because I was there. We talk about tax-friendly countries in Europe, how to set up an LLC in the US as a non-US citizen. There's an article coming out about now. Travel accessories, like good quality things that you need when you travel in Asia, all these kind of things that people need to know. That's one bit, and then the other bit is the community platform we have, which is called Remote Tribe Circles, and it's free. It's kind of a private Facebook, and we've got some really cool people because we select the people that are going in there. It's pretty exclusive. So we want to try and bring a bunch of freelancers, entrepreneurs, lawyers, coaches. We've got a few like really good HR coaches in there. We've got international lawyers. We've got freelancers, we've got people from insurance. So it's a really good place to network, actually. And it's free. Like Shona is going to give you the link there. And it's basically like a support community we have, and people ask questions. You've got spaces where you can ask questions. I post news that are of interest, like visas and travel and stuff like that. So like travel alerts. It's definitely a really good support. Like I'm trying not to spam people. I'm not posting too much, but also people kind of engage, and I'm trying to answer the questions. So right now it's free. It's growing pretty good, and I intend to keep it like that for a while.
That's awesome. And I love that it's like I was on there last night just checking it out, and you provide like all the resources. I love that it's like magazine style, but then you also have the circles, which is like literally a community so everybody can get their questions answered, and like the way that you have it with categories, it's really awesome. So I dropped it in the chat so you guys could get free access to that. And then the infamous question, finding a remote job, and also Remote Tribe, you help people find remote jobs. I saw you have job listings on there.
Yeah, so we do have a job portal. It's remotetribe.live/remote jobs. We've got, I think now we've got over 2,000 jobs, and most of them are in the US. So just go there and check it out. Yeah, Shana, so your question about how to find a remote job.
Okay, finding a remote job. This is the question. Hold on. I want to put that link. You said remotetribe.live.
I'll put it for you, no worries.
Yeah, you're better at putting that. So the question I had was the infamous question, okay? Finding a remote job that will let you work abroad. On our last summit, for all the VIPs that came in, they got the VIP upgrade. I stayed 30 minutes after and chatted with them. We're doing the same thing again. Had 30-minute extra chat time so I could help you with your guys' individual problems, and then did a 1-hour call as well as like a workshop. What I discovered was people didn't know how to take their current job and ask this company like, hey, will you let me go travel and move abroad? How does that work? Like how with finding a remote job that will let you work abroad? And what's your recommendation and tips for that?
Yeah, so I think there are a few ways to go on this one. The first one is trying to see what's the HR policy of the company, and if there are trying to find out if there are any other people in the company doing it, and what's the policy of the company. Because in a lot of cases, you're really not allowed to work outside that country, unfortunately. So I know people who try to do that in the UK and the US, and the company said, no, you have to go. We can't allow you officially to work in Mexico or in Brazil. But some companies may be flexible. You could downgrade to like a freelancer job. A downgrade, I'm just putting quotes because you're still getting paid pretty well. Yeah. So that would be one way to convince them, like kind of use some leverage that you might have with your experience network in the company, and tell them that, you know, I want to go freelancing, otherwise I'm going, and see what they say, because obviously they're not going to fire you because you're just saying that. You can try and say you're considering leaving because you want more flexibility, and see how they react. And if they say no, then it is what it is. You'll stay in the job. And then obviously the second option is just to look for a remote job in the US that's allowing you to work either in the US or on the US time zone. I don't know exactly what's the regulation in the US for working abroad as an US employee. How you pay the taxes and stuff like that. But I know there are some Americans who are officially employed in the US and they work from Brazil or Mexico. So it's possible. But again, you have to look into that. And then
to add to what you're saying about the US, it's definitely a per company basis. So if you have a good I would advise start getting like a good relationship with them. And when you start feeling like it's the time, bring up the conversation. I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to say no.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're going to have to look into some of these resources like the remote job board that's on Remote Tribe and see like, okay, maybe I need to try a different route. And sometimes going with a smaller business, you doing the same job, but maybe doing this for, say you're a coach and you find a coaching agency that's giving a lot of business and they're fully remote. Like sometimes these kind of agencies, they don't care. Like I'm friends and partnered with an agency that's in San Francisco. He doesn't give a crap. He's lived abroad. He's like, I
Exactly.
encourage people to go do it. And he doesn't care. Like his HR department, they're like, go do it. So it's really just opening up the possibility and start talking about it. And maybe on the next chat, David might be able to jump into this a little bit more. But did you have anything else to add to that, Andrew, about the remote job and like finding one?
I just agree with you that small companies are more flexible usually. And also another way would be to become a freelancer and offer your services to companies. But that's harder because you need a personal brand, you need your portfolio, you need networking to go into that company and work as a freelancer or contractor. So it's not that easy, but it's doable. I mean, I've been a freelancer, so I've been downgraded to a freelancer from a company when I was younger. And I was actually happy because, I wasn't involved in the politics in the office. I wasn't even there. I was
Right.
getting paid more or less the same thing, actually better because I was paying less tax. So it was a good deal for me. So you can still do that.
The future is freelance. I mean,
I,
it's funny because you say
yeah,
downgrade, but I find it as upgrade because you don't have to deal with people's crap. You don't have to be
yeah.
told what to do. You set your own schedule. I mean, there's so many perks of it. And then there's no cap, the ceiling. Like once you get more work, guess what? You raise your rates and you just keep raising your rates and you keep raising your rates to the point where there's no cap to how much you can make. And that's what's so beautiful about being a freelancer. So I think that's really smart is to like start thinking about, can I do my current job and be a freelancer? And to answer your question, so Cheryl has a question, Andrew. Is there specific documentation you need to live abroad if a company allows it?
So good point. It's if a US company allows it. So obviously if you have a digital nomad visa,
Yeah.
you're probably not going to be paying taxes in that country. So if you move to Portugal, Croatia, or Greece, in Greece, I know you have to pay some taxes, so you're going to be double taxed. But try to find, I would encourage you to work under a digital nomad visa that doesn't tax you in that country. So you're only going to pay taxes in the US. That'll be the smart thing to do.
Okay. And then also, thank you for sharing that. Cheryl, you do need, so if you're applying for these digital nomad visas and you're working for a company from the US, yes, you will need to have the company write a letter that says we give authorization for our employee to live in the US. A lot of the countries do ask for this letter. So that's why it's important to have their approval. I obviously wish that you didn't have to get this letter, but unfortunately, in a lot of cases, you do. So, hey, it's not, don't turn down the possibility. On the last summit, we had 3 gals that they came into the VIP upgrade. We had a workshop. We brainstormed what they could do. They literally went back to their bosses the next day, had a script, opened up the conversation. Their bosses are allowing them to go do this. They're going to go for, I think, first 6 months and to see if they like it. But look, people could be okay with it. So I would just say, do it. Just ask.
Yeah, and guys, super pro tip, Thailand offers a long-term visa. You have to prove you had 70K US dollars in the last year, I think, or in the last 2 years or something like that, which in the US is really likely, like the salaries are pretty high. And you get multiple entries within a year. And obviously, if you get a US salary in Thailand, you're an absolute king. You can afford a lot, you can have a good life. So look into that. It's called the LTR, Thailand.
LTR.
LTR, long-term residence, I think, or long-term visa. LTR, that's the program.
Awesome.
Thailand, yeah.
Sounds really cool. Wow. And then we have a question from Vaughn Meza. Okay, so it says Remote Tribe is an awesome platform. Thanks for sharing. How do you get companies to post their jobs on your website?
Yeah, I did reply to that. So there is a post button on the top right, and there's also in the menu there's an option for employers. So if you just go there, you'll be able to create an account and post a job there for free. I think the first job is free.
Awesome.
Otherwise, just shoot me an email. I can help.
Yeah, I'm gonna put your email again. And does anybody have any questions? We have a couple minutes until David comes on, and I'm really excited to introduce you guys, Andrew, because you guys are kind of doing the same thing, but I think that there's always a possibility to open things up for collaboration. So does
Sure.
anybody have any questions? Raise your digital Zoom hand. Andrew is a wealth of knowledge. He's lived literally in 50 countries. I think he's
More or
probably
less, yeah.
the only one, maybe Michelle, who has lived in that many actual countries. So anything you guys have like about living abroad, costs, remote work, and then tell us about the program that you're offering for people that don't really know what they want to do. You're doing like a no code training, right? To basically show people how they can build websites, right? For companies.
Yeah, it will be a technical course. It will be a web design course. We're still building it. So it's for people who don't have any technical skills but want to build like an online business. Like it's a really hands-on technical course where you learn how to automate processes with Zapier, for example, how to use Tilda to build a website, how to use WordPress, how to use Bubble to create a mobile app, for example. So without writing code, it's still far. I'll keep you posted, but you can subscribe to, I think there is we've got a landing page where you can subscribe and get the news when it's out.
Yeah.
I don't want to rush it because it will be an in-depth course and it will be a pretty technical course where you're going to be hands-on. So it's going to take some time to build, but I think it's going to help a lot of people. So no BS. You're going to build like websites from scratch in a few weeks.
Perfect. And that's what I recommend doing, guys, because I aside from living abroad coaching, I also have a web design agency, and I taught myself how to do this from online programs like Andrew. So this is for somebody, you don't have to know code. It's literally called no code.
No code for real. Yeah.
Yeah. Like they're going to show
100%.
you platforms where you can drag and drop and you can build things for people, and you can charge $2,000 to $25,000 for a website. So this could be your solution. Okay, Pratiga, thank you for coming. We only have 1 minute and then we need to bring David on, but can you quickly ask your question and we can sum this up in 1 minute?
Yes, thank you, Shauna. It's a very quick question. And
Yes.
thank you, Andrew. Your journey and your story were so inspiring, and Vietnam has been on my list for so many years. So quick question, was there anything that when living abroad made you realize that, oh, I had not thought about this, or something unexpected happened to you that you wish you knew it before moving abroad?
In terms of like cultural shock, or what exactly?
Anything in general.
Anything.
Maybe like something you wish you would have known.
Something you wish you would have known. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, yeah. So what I noticed is that people do things in different ways, and you've got the same outcome. So it was like, like whenever you travel, you see people living differently, but they do things kind of in the same way. So you're like, oh, you can do the things in different ways and you end up with the same results. So there are more things to the table, basically. And then you kind of learn from everyone that you can do things differently, and then you kind of get creative. I think that was a really good thing for me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your question, Pragati. And I don't know if I'm saying your name right. Patiga?
Yes.
Okay. It's so good to meet you. And I commend you for coming on and asking your questions. Like, more people should, put your video on. This space is for you guys. Like, we're giving up our time to just help you guys. We're really busy all the time. So feel free to come off mute and ask a question. Raise your Zoom hand when it's the last 5 minutes. Thank you so much, Andrew. I wanted to introduce you to David Cantor. He owns Citizen Remote, and he's super awesome. You guys are kind of doing the same thing, but I think there can be some overlap. So maybe you guys can connect.
Yeah, we talked a bit in the past. Yeah, we know each other. Hi, David.
What's up, Andrew?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Okay, so you
Doing
guys
well, thank you.
awesome.
We did, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much, Andrew. Let's say thank you to Andrew, and have a great rest of your time in Vietnam. And I hope you sleep well now.
Bye, guys.